Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm so grateful that you've decided to join me for my book haul today. First, though, I want to apologize that I have not been doing a great job of uploading on a regular basis over the summer. It's been a combination of summer kids activities that have been keeping me busy, plus the ongoing legal separation with my wife, which has made an already pretty bad mental health situation even worse. So it's been tough, but you keep bringing me back. The fact that you're out there watching my channel, and in particular, my Patreons are out there supporting me. Joanna, Paul, and Mojo, my higher tier patrons in particular, I want to thank. And then those of you also who take the time to comment in my videos and keep the discussions going and really make it worthwhile for me to post this stuff so that I can carry on the discussion with you folks in the comments below. All of that encourages me to keep on plugging away, and hopefully come the fall I'll be able to post again at least weekly and start to get more videos out on a regular basis. So in the meantime, thank you for your patience with me. Now, as for book hauls, I have very mixed feelings about them. In general, I quite enjoy watching other people's book hauls because it gives me an idea of what books are exciting people, what people are reading, the titles that are grabbing people's attention enough for them to put money down and purchase the books. So I am interested in seeing what is on people's radar. On the other hand, I'm really not a fan of our society of commercialism and the acquisition of more and more stuff, and basically a forsaking of the simple life and a real giving in towards our greedier sides, as it were. So there's something about taking a bunch of stuff and saying, look what I bought, that A, is going to be discouraging to lower income folks who maybe can't purchase those things. And I understand I'm on disability and I'm trying to live off of a disability income. And previously I had my wife's full-time income to basically keep us supported. Now that she's out of the picture, it's just me and what I make from disability, which is not very much. So I kind of get that perspective, although it doesn't bother me to see other people have cool stuff and enjoy fun things. Where it does tend to bother me a little bit is when you see, like, I literally saw a video title that said book haul 90 plus books, and I'm looking at that going, I bet you read maybe 5 of those 90 books and the rest of them just sit and collect dust on your bookshelves forever and ever. And so just the purchasing for the sake of having as opposed to actually reading is something that gets a little uncomfortable for me, which is why nowadays I spend very little money on books, and the books I do buy are ones that I really do intend to read in the near future. Now, on the other hand, there's the aspect of if people only purchase books that they knew 100% they were going to read, then I think the publishing industry would take a huge hit. If it weren't for us dreamers who purchase books thinking, maybe someday I will read that book, I'll actually have the time to sit down and spend some time with it. If it weren't for those people, I think the publishing industry would be in worse shape. So yeah, these big spenders, these ones that are bringing home 90 plus books in a book haul, are helping to support the industry that I love so much. So, you know, there's that aspect of it too. Like I said, my feelings are quite complicated. Regardless, I assume you're here because you enjoy watching book hauls, and I'm going to share my little mini haul with you now. I just want to take a quick second to let you know that this video, for change of pace, is brought to you by 2 of my subscribers. Now, a while back, 2 separate people within a short time period of each other each gave me a gift out of the blue. They saw my PayPal link in the description to my videos, and they just sent me some money. And to receive a PayPal donation just out of the blue like that just floored me, and it was so generous and so kind. And even though I'm on disability now and have to be careful with my money, those 2 gifts have allowed me to go out and get the books that I've picked up here today. So those 2 people have made it possible for me. You know who you are. I still appreciate it. I know it was a while ago, but I've been saving the money for something special, and this was the time to use it. So I truly just can't thank you enough. Anyhow, without further ado then, let us dive into the first book, called Will Short Presents Hot Sudoku, 200 Very Hard Puzzles. So I have Crohn's disease, and therefore I spend a lot more time than the average person in the bathroom. So I like to spend my time there doing logic puzzles. So I always have a book of logic puzzles on the go, and for the longest time now I've been going through this series of really great logic puzzle books, and I finally got to the end of them and had to pick up a different book. The book I picked up has some interesting stuff in there, but it doesn't have Sudokus as part of its repertoire. So I picked up this separate book of Sudokus to work my way through these puzzles and to just add to the variety of puzzles I have to solve. So that's why I have this little Sudoku book here. The next one is a rare fiction book for me in terms of recent years, in that it is not a fantasy book. It's just a regular old fiction book. This is a book called Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This one and the next one I'm going to talk about come about very much due to you booktubers. Folks like Steph and Lena and Casey, you are out there influencing my purchasing decisions, and Frederick Bachman's book here, Anxious People, is one of those books that I purchased directly as a result of what I've seen on BookTube. What I think this book is about is just a group of kind of everyday people who find themselves in some kind of a hostage situation. And that's really all I know about the book. It's all I really want to know about it. I'll just sort of dive into it and see how it goes. I had left a comment a little while back on one of Casey's videos, and she replied and said she really thought I would find this to be a funny book. My comment was something along the lines of, I don't know, as somebody who struggles with anxiety, do I want to read a book about anxious people? And she was like, yeah, no, you probably just find it really quite hilarious. So I'm hoping I do find this as amusing as she thinks I will. And now with those two aside, we can dive into the fantasy and sci-fi. So in terms of the fantasy books, again, we're sticking with a bit of a lighter book. This one is called The House in a Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And again, this is one I've seen all over BookTube. It seems like every booktuber, especially every booktuber who reads fantasy, is reading and highly recommending this particular book. Again, I know very little about it. It is about, I think, a guy who has to go around to these sort of orphanages that are geared towards children with magical powers. And I think he's in charge of overseeing these orphanages of magical children. And again, that's all I really know about it. I've heard that this is a lighthearted book that will just put a smile on your face. So after the deep fantasy I've been diving into recently, this will be a really nice change of pace. And I'm expecting it'll be a fairly light and easy read for me. Now, the one-offs aside, let's get into a couple of series. So I have purchased the first book in two different series here that I expect are going to be the next fantasy series that I dive into. Once I'm ready to get back into a series again, I think the next one I'm going to start reading is, I think it's called the Seven Waters series. I'll put it up on the screen somewhere in case I got that wrong. But the first book of this series is called Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. Now, I've realized with my fantasy that I don't necessarily like to get too grim dark. I don't like to get sort of mired down in really deep, dark fantasy. There's something to me about the lightness of classical fantasy that really has an appeal for me and is one of the reasons that I choose it for my escapism. So I've heard that this particular series, starting with Daughter of the Forest, almost has some sort of fairy tale-ish elements to the fantasy to make it more of a light setting, I suppose. I don't know a lot about it again. From what I've read, the main character, I think, loses her ability to speak, and I'm not exactly sure how or why. It's just something that I'll discover as I get into this one. So that is probably going to be the next series that I dive into. I believe there are 7 books in total in the series, so if I enjoy the first one, then there's lots more to discover with the rest of that series. The next one here, also the first book of a series, is called Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan, and it is book 1 of the Powder Mage trilogy. This is one that Lena convinced me to read. She just keeps going on about how great the Powder Mage trilogy is, and it really is interesting. It will be a new fantasy genre for me in that it is flintlock fantasy. So as opposed to a lot of fantasy that is set in a medieval European setting, this one is more in a Napoleonic era when they have guns, gunpowder and muskets and that sort of thing. And in fact, I heard that the magic system has to do with snorting gunpowder or something along those lines. So there's certainly something very interesting to be discovered here in the Powder Mage trilogy, and I'm looking forward to getting into that. It might be quite some time if I do enjoy Daughter of the Forest. Like I said, there are several books to get through there before I even get to this one. But in case I don't particularly enjoy Daughter of the Forest, this one's next up on deck, ready to go. And then the final item here is a series of 3 books. It's the first 3 in a series, and this is the classic series Dune. Yet again, this comes about from BookTube and my own YouTube channel. I had a subscriber say to me, "You really need to read Dune." And I've heard some great things from other YouTubers out there. Brittany is a YouTuber who really sings the praises of Dune very highly, as do many, many people. So this is an old sci-fi classic that I'm finally going to get time to read at some point. In fact, I'm going to prioritize the first book fairly soon, I think. And I'm not sure if I will carry on with the series after the first book. It really depends how much I love that first book, I suppose. I was debating whether to get just the first book in the series, just Dune, or to get this little box set of 3. I decided to obviously to go with the 3 books, because I knew I would regret not picking up this little box set if I did love that first book a lot. But we'll see how that goes. How about you? What are you excited to read? What are you reading currently? Is it something that I should check out? And then after that, what's up on deck, ready to go? I'm always eager to talk about books, so please do continue the discussion in the comments. Hey, it's Josh. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you could consider doing one of the following things, I would appreciate it. Maybe give me a like. Hi, I'm Josh. Hi, I'm Josh. Hi, I'm Josh. Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm so grateful that you've decided to join me for my book haul today, where it tends to... which is one called... Casey, in particular, in a comment, when I left a comment in one of her videos, she said that it sort of orphanages of magical people. So it's fantasy time, and then I'm always anxious